There's the good girls, and then there's the bad girls.
The fashion, the romance, the glitter.
All kinds of car chases and adventures. Trying to explain it in a nutshell is difficult because there's a lot going on.
I think all of the voice actors were just fantastic. I think they all did a great job. I mean, every single one of them I thought was just excellent for what they did. I thought that was one of the great strengths of our show.
The real question is, what really matters? My real name or the songs I sing?
Well, we still sold 500,000 records.
Oh, they won!
Who's going to join us on deck, Jem or Jerica?
I think Jerica deserves to spend some quality time with her sweetie.
Change me, Synergy. Change me into someone hard and mean. Someone who can never be hurt.
You know something, creep? Jem let you off easy. Get your hands off me and get out. I am Riot!
Okay, let's do it. Showtime, Synergy.
One of the things that some boys used to do that I think was different from other animation studios is when we hired an actor or an actress, we wanted them age appropriate for what we were doing. You know, if we had a little kid, we didn't want some 40-year-old woman doing a little kid voice. We wanted a young kid to do that role. And I think that may be because the people running the company, you know, were from the advertising industry. They're used to working with real actors and, you know, young actors for commercials and everything. So when we cast Jem and Jerica and all of the other characters, we wanted younger characters. And I think Samantha was 18 or 19 at the time. And I think it was her first kind of, she'd done singing before, but I think this was her first real acting gig.
I've been in show business since I was a little wee thing. I always sang my whole life, and as I went into my teenage years, I got signed to an agency, and I was doing McDonald's commercials and auditioning for soaps and films and TV things, and I would say I was up to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions for everything, and I wasn't writing music back then. So, but I was singing with big bands, like fronting 18-piece orchestras and doing big band shows at like the Shrine Auditorium, and so I was singing and I was auditioning and I was dabbling, and I think I'd done a public service announcement as far as a voiceover, but I hadn't done any voiceovers other than that. So Jem was the first one.
The audition happened at Wally Burr's studio, and it was a hot summer day. I think it was summer or spring, or could have been winter because it's hot in LA anyways. And I remember that the studio was full of actors and actresses, and we were really backed up because Wally demands a certain level of perfection and would re-audition and take 2, take 3, do it again, till he gets it right, till he gets what he wants.
Wally's a very interesting guy. Wally is an actor at heart, but he was at Hanna-Barbera very early on. And so when you audition for Wally, he had a specific way that he wanted for you to do your voice. And he would line read you in such a way that if you were smart enough to imitate his line reading, then you were pretty much okay.
By the time they got to me, I was very hungry, overly hungry and overly tired, which is not a good thing for Patricia. So I was so like that. It just came out of me like venom, just venom, and I guess it's what he needed for pizzazz. I was cast because my voice, my speaking voice, matched the singing voice of the character. And that surprised me because I was cast after the fact. Whether I did a good performance in my audition or not, I don't know. Maybe it was just the quality in my voice that they needed to carry through.
Jem and the Holograms? That witch and her group are getting tons of free publicity out of this. It's driving me crazy!
Come on, we've got clubs to visit.
Clubs? For what?
For the one thing that'll knock Jem out of the news. A new misfit.
One place where I did get involved in casting, and this was on one occasion, and this had to do with when we added Jetta to the Misfit. I said, I hear too many really bad British fake accents, so can we please at least get a genuine British actress? And, and they said, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll send you the tape and we'll let you listen to the auditions. I said, great, oh, cool. And I didn't think anything else of it because I figured it was just, I figured they were being polite. I didn't really take it all that seriously. But sure enough, sometime later, maybe a month or two later, whatever it was, I get this tape. And I had specified that I did not want Jetta to talk with a Cockney accent. I didn't want like this typical, is like the only thing the Americans seem to think that the English have is a Cockney accent. So I thought, and I was married to an Australian. So I was kind of sensitive to these things. So I get this tape and I hear 4 actresses. 3 of them are clearly Americans doing bad Cockney accents. The 4th one was Louise Dorsey. Lovely British accent. I said, okay, her. She's the only one that is actually British. And so they did cast her. So that was the one place where I did actually have some impact on the voice and the voice casting.
I'll show you, Ruddy Yanks! Come on, move it or lose it!
In fact, I didn't meet like Samantha Newark and the key voice people. I never actually met them until just a few years ago. I met some of them. I met Samantha, and I just had not met any of them until the GemCon started happening. So it's interesting. It's interesting that there was this. You would think there would be this profound connection, and yet there were people that I really never encountered.
Synergy, we need your help to beat the Misfits.
Don't worry about the Misfits. We can still win that award. Our music speaks for itself.
We recorded ensemble, which was very cool because I don't think they do much of that anymore, but we were all of us in a room sharing mics. Mostly I was sharing with one person because I had so much dialogue, but we were all in a room together, and that really created a lot of magic. It created a lot of the cool energy that you can feel. I mean, it's a very good way to record, I think.
We better start thinking about food and shelter.
Don't tell me what to do. Listen up, Pizzazz. Just this once, we're all gonna work together. Together, you hear? For my part, I'm going fishing.
I'm gonna work on a shelter. Roxy, you wanna help?
Why not?
Well, our actual sessions for Gem were come in, table read, mark your part, get your direction.
We'd have our storyboards, and it's basically unfinished animation showing what the action is, because if Jerrica's running down the road when she's saying, Aja, I can't take care of that right now, it would be very different if she was sitting at a table. So you kind of have to picture what's going on. And then we would highlight our parts, and Wally would kind of be at the head of the table, and we would read through it. I don't remember if we would read through it once or twice, but we would read through, and he would give us notes, and then we would break for lunch, and then we'd go into the studio.
They had us for 8 hours a day if they needed us.
It was a long day for most voiceover actors who were used to doing work, say like at Hanna-Barbera where I did other shows.
Working with Gordon Hunt at Hanna-Barbera to do a 22-minute show, you would go in, you'd have a table read, you'd make notes on your script, then you'd get up to the microphones, and everybody would have his own microphone, and Gordon would be in the booth, and we'd do the show probably in less than 2 hours.
And with Wally, we would go there and we would sit and we would wait.
I'd say you have to bring a lunch, and this is with all great deference to our director, but you knew you were going to be there for a while.
You would pretty much read the script in the order that it was written, and that meant you had to be on time to pop in and out for your line, so you had to be cognizant of what was going on while you were in the green room and pop in when it was your turn to read and then go out and catch lunch where you could and not let your fraternization get in the way of your work.
You got to a point where saying, I'm being well paid, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, I enjoy the people, most of the people with whom I'm working, and he would sometimes take a long, long time to get a show done, would take after take, and he would eventually get the sound that he wanted and the pattern that he wanted and the cadence that he wanted and the energy that he wanted. And then we get to go home.
All right, we're back in business.
Jim, you're back to normal.
Okay, let's go!
Oh, Wally Burr, he's amazing.
He's very good with the actors, and he's very good at understanding what was needed and the kind of emphasis that a line needed and what was going on in the script at that time.
He was so committed, just so committed. He was 150% in this production. It was not like, great, perfect, whatever, that'll work.
Knew exactly what he wanted, would often give line readings, and expect 100% level of energetic delivery.
Hand them over, Pizzazz.
Sure. They're all gone.
He was painstaking with his vision as far as a director, and I loved that. And what a great opportunity for me as a young artist to just walk into this atmosphere of, everybody's on their best game. So it was a joy to work with him. I feel honored to work with him. I'd love to work with him again. Wally, I'd love to work with you again.
I remember one time, Samantha wasn't there. So he had me read her lines and my lines. He was going to cut me out as her, but he was directing me to give as much energy in her reading as my own reading. And I remember it had a lot of screaming in it. And if anyone's ever done repeated screams, they're very exhausting. And I think that day I recorded for 6 to 8 hours. It was long, it was grueling. I went home and I just slept. I couldn't move, and I went, how do people do this?
I got to see Wally again at a GEM convention, GEMCon in 2008, and I hadn't seen him literally since the show, and he looks exactly the same. And he actually put together this whole mock voiceover thing for the GEM fans that showed up, and he auditioned them, and he cast them, and they all got to be, read from the gem sides that he had, and it was awesome. It was great. I got to kind of sit back in the audience and watch him do that.
Being patient with Wally Burr was something that we all had to learn how to do. And one day we'd come in to do some promos in this studio that was different from the studio we recorded in. It was a bigger studio. And one of the things that Wally did when he wanted to explain to you in minutiae detail what he wanted from you, he would hold the talkback button down and give you your direction. If you had a question, you can't hear the actor in the studio when the talkback button is down. So he was going on and on and on, and I had a question about what he was telling me. I didn't understand. And he had the button down, and his head is down like this, and he's telling me, and he's gesturing with the way I'm supposed to gesture and stuff like that. And my script was on a music stand. This was not a group recording, it was individuals recording stuff. So I had my script, it was probably 20 pages, on this music stand. And in frustration, I made a big gesture. And the pages all flew off of the music stand. The music stand fell down on the floor. All the other actors behind me are going like this. And Wally's giving me direction like this. I bend down, I pick up the music stand, I gather all of the pages together, I put them in numerical order, I put them back on my music stand, and Wally says, well, did you get that? And he never knew. Well, he knows now.
Hello, Jericho. Welcome to Misfits Music.
When we run you out of business,
You can come work for us.
yeah, cleaning windows.
See you at the Music Awards when we win.
I wouldn't bet on it, Eric.
Working with the other people in the cast was really kind of like being in high school, because we had the bad girls, we had the Misfits and Pizzazz and her motley crew of people who were trying to deep six Gem and the Holograms all the time. And there was this giant competition. And so when we would come into the studio, I kind of felt like Sue Blue and Samantha Paris, who was then Bobby Block, and Patricia Albrecht, who were the Misfits. They were kind of like the Angora sweater girls, and they were kind of over here, and they would they'd say catty things about Jem and the Holograms.
And what was really fun was when we weren't working together. We would go out and sit together, and then we get to chat, which is why I rarely had a chance to talk with Samantha while I worked, because the Misfits were not always in a scene with the Holograms. So I got to know the Misfits, she got to know the Holograms. Occasionally we would talk, but it was very rare because she was working when I wasn't working.
It was intimidating because I was a kid. I was the youngest member of the cast, and so I had nothing really in common with anybody other than we were acting and we were working. They were very naughty. They were very rude in the sense of a lot of foul jokes in between takes, and it was hysterical. It was really funny, and it just, opened my eyes in a huge way to a lot of things that I didn't know. And but they were great.
He was just as naive and wide-eyed and pretty as can be. But here I am, almost old enough to be her dad, and she's my love interest. Well, that never happened.
Do I get to kiss the victor?
You bet.
I really respected the work that Sue Blue did, and I had taken her voiceover classes that she had taught, were very helpful.
We had Kathy Ann Bloor and Linda Dangsel, and Cindy McGee were the hologram girls and the Starlight Music girls.
They were a blast and some of the most talented voiceover people in the business, even still today.
We've lost Linda and Kathy Ann, who were good friends and really talented people. Linda turned me on to Cuban food, which I always liked.
Charlie Adler was wild and was very fun to work with. He could be more caustic than I.
Charlie Adler was really, really, really funny. Just funny guy, and filthy mouth, and the dirty jokes, and just crying, laughing all the time, and really just having to wrangle it in and focus, get back to work.
I was known for having a very vulgar language while I worked, so they had to really get used to the fact that I would spew 4-letter words right and left in the middle of my take. I would just if I blew it, I'd go, and then I just would throw a bunch of those in. They'd have to be cut out. But it was just how I worked. That character, because she would do that, and I figured, it would be so right for Pizzazz. She would not be politically correct or verbally correct in any way.
Cut! Shut up! Stop! What are you doing back here?
I tried to steal their gear, but Georgia gave me away.
I still talk with Samantha. I'm still in touch with Louise Dorsey. And I was still in touch with Linda up until her death, and have great fond feelings for so many of the other actresses.
It's so strange. Patricia, myself, and Louise, we all ended up living in Nashville, and we all live really close by to each other, which is really bizarre if you think about it all these years later. What are the chances? But I've maintained connections with them, and then I've had the joy of reconnecting with all the other actors through these conventions who I'd lost touch with, and suddenly we're all in a room together after years and years and years.
A few years ago, on a whim, I think I emailed Charlie Adler, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this. I never go on these websites. I never touch this stuff. I hate this stuff. And I just saw your name," so he called me up, and all I wanted to know was that he was okay. And he was, and it was just great just touching base with him. I think he was living in New York at that time, and it was just nice to follow up and see, are you doing okay? Are things good? How's your families? How are things going? And some of us are here and some of us aren't, and it makes life that much more precious and delicate. But it's really fun to think I can walk around the corner and talk to Samantha any day of the week, because that's how close we live in Nashville.
Mom, how can I get Rio to like me?
Oh, I think Rio likes you.
Well, then how come he won't pay any attention to me?
Well, the first thing you gotta do is stop chasing him.
I loved Out of the Past. It's when they delved into Jerrica's mom and these lost tapes because her mom was a singer. And I just thought it was beautifully written. And I got to do Jerrica as a little girl.
What's wrong, sweetheart?
Why do you have to go away all the time?
Jerrica, honey, this is my career. I won't be gone long, and you wouldn't want me to miss the concert, would you?
If you love me, you won't go.
I do love you, Jerrica, believe me.
Your attention. Last call for flight 909.
Honey, I've gotta go. Give me a hug and a kiss.
No.
We'll talk when I get back.
It was obviously not a light episode, so it was fun getting to delve into something that was a little more gritty and, and a little darker. So, yeah, I just thought it was beautifully done.
Starlight is the message that I send from beyond.
It was surreal to see what my character looked like with my voice coming out of it.
I'd like to thank the awards people for having the good taste to give us this award, which we so definitely deserve.
Like this alter ego, I was such a zebra, I was such a leopard, I was such an animal, which I hadn't thought of it when I was working. But I thought, wow, I have all this animal energy coming out of me, and I was so rude and so caustic, and it was wild. And then seeing the animation for the other characters that I played, the little girls, and the incidental characters, and going, oh wow! And I hadn't thought of myself in that respect, and how interesting it was, and it was electric, very fun.
It was bloody cool. It was, I remember tuning in probably on a Saturday morning, and when I heard the theme song and I saw the animation and how I'm getting chills even thinking about it. I mean, it really blew me away.
It was a trip. It was really, really neat because Rio was handsome and dashing, and I'm a little guy. I'm not very big or very dashing at all, and so it was a lot of fun. My ego was pumped. I enjoy, and I still enjoy that.
Pizzazz, if you have come to cause trouble,
Why do you always think the worst of me?
don't answer that, Jem.
It blows my mind how this series has endured, and I think, honestly, nobody really knows the secret, because if they did, we would probably try to bottle it, but because who knows? Who knows why this, at this time, connected when it did, with the kids back then, and now it's coming back again. I just think it's just that magical thing that happens, and I kind of like that it's a mystery, and I don't know.